Chapter 16. The Story of Expectation. Small hinges swing big doors. The components or building blocks of expectation are often overlooked because their outworking is not always immediately visible. We will start by looking at two of these building blocks that, when understood, intertwined, and activated together, make a powerful hinge to swing favor into our lives. They are giving and receiving. They work as two ends of a circle, and when joined together bring huge benefits to us. I believe that it is not possible to operate in and benefit from either one for a prolonged period of time without operating in and benefiting from the other. Everything that is seen on the outside of you has its beginnings on the inside of you, and if you are not a giver, or your giving is based on judgment, then your receiving will ultimately happen by the same rules. Here, I believe we find that both giving and receiving are based on three major premises: gratitude, expectation, and forgiveness. When we are truly grateful for the blessings in our lives, and when we realize that they come to us from a place of creation, we want to share the fruits of those blessings with others. They may not always be financial. Often we have been blessed with a gift or talent that we can teach to others, encourage others, or give a helping hand to others, with no financial implications at all. This kind of giving often comes back to us via favor from the people we meet, opens doorways to opportunities that seem unexpected, and insights into how things work in different areas of our lives. Most of all, we will see that this precept is always in operation around us. A second set of components that work powerfully together is our understanding of supply and demand. These are intrinsically intertwined with the precept of giving and receiving. The four aspects of supply, demand, giving, and receiving when working together produce incredible results and allow us to expect progress in our desires. So let's start with a promise. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. We all want to be happy, joyful, thankful, even content. Yes, but maybe we should not be satisfied. People who conform to life as it is given to them might seem to be content and reasonable people. Let us remember again what George Bernard Shaw said: "The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man." These people believe that there is an infinite source of creative ideas and supply, and there is. Life is built precept upon precept. The more we learn, the faster we learn. New ideas get built on the foundations of old ones. We learn to apply lessons that are learnt in one area into other areas. This is also the building of our self-image. The universe is filled with the seeds of every imaginable good there is, and it is there to be discovered by diligently searching it out. It seems reasonable that the seekers are the ones who find what they are looking for. If we ask, it will be given to us. If we seek, we will find. But do we ask or seek? What things you desire, when you ask, by speaking out words with emotion, believing you will receive them, you shall have them. How much clearer do we need this to be said to us? I know there are people who say, "Well, I don't believe that." Fine, it's up to each individual to choose their own beliefs. However, when you examine your life, you will see that the outworking of your beliefs are self-evident. The big issue is this: we don't know what we want, and so we don't ask for anything. Somehow, we don't feel worthy of receiving anything. What does worthy mean? It is having or showing the qualities that deserve the specified action or regard. We can never rise above the level we believe we are worthy of, just as water cannot rise above the level from which it springs. Where did you get your opinion of what your level of worthiness is? Did you decide yourself? If you did, how did you come to whatever conclusion you came to? If you did not, then how do you know if whoever pronounced that level over you was correct? Have you been living all this time under a falsehood, a misconception of who you are and what you are worthy of? Visualizing and reality. As far as your body is concerned, your reaction to something you imagine is exactly the same as your reaction to the same situation if it was in fact real. You think you hear a noise downstairs. Your adrenaline kicks in, your ears strain to listen. You creep down the stairs, Heart beating loud, hands perspiring, breathing speeds up, but there is no one there. Your body has reacted to your imagination, not to any reality. What do you imagine you are worthy of? This can be used powerfully to overcome situations in our lives that cause us to be anxious, frightened, fearful, or afraid. By imagining a good, positive, uplifting outcome, we can balance our feelings, which allows us to think and act with more clarity, which ultimately brings about a better outcome. You can't receive a positive if you concentrate on a negative. Don't continue to think on the reasons why nothing works for you. You get what you think about. Remember, in order to speak a thought, it must come through your character first. Therefore, your mouth reveals what is in your heart. Think of a pathway worn through a large field of high grass. That's what a habit looks like in your brain. In order to change that, you don't try to cover over the existing path, you start a new one. This does take some effort and willpower initially, but the more often you use it, the easier it gets, and over time, the old path will grow over simply by neglect. This is where visualization can play a major role. Every time you visualize the new path in your mind, you're actually cutting that new path and making it stronger and wider. Some experts say it only takes 21 days to cut a new and effective path. Instead of saying, "I can't," ask, "What would it take for me to?" As soon as you start thinking about receiving something, the reasons why you won't or can't or shouldn't have those things shows up right on its tail. Great. Write them down as the reasons come to mind, because they are exactly the part of your past learning your self-image that you want to examine and dismiss, then put them to one side. Most barriers are only in your mind and cause you to fall back into a competitive mindset rather than the creative one. Be specific. The duality of ideas causes frustration and delivers either no or negative results. Your expectations? What are they based on? What is your reason or motivation? What is your goal or target? The why is much more important than the how. What is provision? The means are only provided when the why is set. Provision. Pro equal to for the vision. Let it work rather than make it work. Fact and consequence. Know the difference. You plant an apple tree in your garden. Sometime later you complain that you wanted oranges from the tree. It's a fact that there are apples on the tree instead of oranges. However, it's a consequence of you planting an apple tree. Sounds obvious, but how often do you complain about something in your life that, while it's a fact that it is in your life, is actually a consequence of something you set in motion yourself? That can be good news if you take responsibility for having made that choice, get over it, and plant an orange tree in your garden instead of just complaining about the apple tree. While you're waiting for the orange tree to grow, make an apple cake, and if you don't like apple cake, make it anyway and give it to someone who has no apples. Winners are classed as winners because they win more often than they lose, but they do lose. The winner part is the will to get up and get on with it when you've just lost. See setbacks as temporary defeat, not failure. Take the lesson from it and leave the emotion of failure behind. If you blame other people for the situation you find yourself in, you disarm yourself of the weapons or tools you need to move on. Resentment is the futile exercise of trying to change the past. It leads to self-pity and defeat, and it destroys self-image. Get rid of it. Don't give rent-free space in your head to a person or a problem. You cannot live in love, peace, and joy whilst carrying resentment. Forgiveness is freedom. Unforgiveness stands in the way of receiving. What do you think life owes you? No desire or need is felt and understood until the supply or solution is ready to appear. Your conscious mind cannot comprehend and believe a need or desire until the possibility of its fulfillment exists. Think on this. Desire equal to expectation. Expectation equal to preparation. Make up your mind on the path you want your life to take. Rich or poor, happy or sad, stressful or peaceful, whatever. Get a clear picture in your imagination of what that looks like. Gain knowledge, understanding, and wisdom concerning your chosen path, and then just go for it. Expect opportunities to show up. Set your target, fine-tune it. Decide your path Use your cybernetic system to make adjustments as you go. View negative responses for what they are, an opportunity to examine that part of the journey and ask if you have veered off course. Thought seed, like a physical seed, takes time to grow. Some grow faster than others, and it also depends on the environment in which it is planted. Carefully choose the seed you want to sow so that you are definite in the results you want. Water that seed with emotions of expectation and gratitude daily and watch for signs. A feeling that you should go somewhere you wouldn't normally go, or do something you wouldn't normally do, help someone you wouldn't normally help, chat with someone you wouldn't normally chat with, read or listen to something you wouldn't normally read or listen to. Remember that giving and receiving are two ends of the same stick. Become more aware of your surroundings. Allot some quiet time in your day when you can quiet your mind and listen to your intuition. Expect exciting and amazing things to happen. I would suggest that you keep a journal, somewhere you can record the process and the progress of your journey. That will be invaluable to you later. I hear people saying, but you have to be realistic. Yes, however, I believe that realistic is the daily work you have to do on your way to your dream. Be content but not satisfied. They say, is this blind faith? There is no such thing in my opinion. Faith is exactly the opposite to blind. Faith is seeing what is not yet visible. Some people say, when I can see it, I can believe it. This is the wrong way around. The truth is this: when you can believe it, you will see it. The eyes of faith say this: when you can see the invisible, believe the incredible, and expect the extraordinary, you can achieve the impossible. In the creative world we live in, there is no need for competition. Competition breeds lack. It says, if I win, you lose. Lack exists in the minds of people. It's not actually real. Your thoughts are creative. Why are you creating a life you are not happy with? Once you understand the precepts of life, it takes exactly the same amount of effort to create the life you want. Everything we want is available to us. There is no supply issue. There is only a demand issue. Here's a story. A trip to remember and a lesson to learn. A long time ago, a middle-aged man decided to leave Ireland for America, where he hoped to start a fresh chapter in his life. He inquired from the shipping company as to what the cost of his travel would be. They told him they only had one ticket left and how much it was. He immediately decided to take the ticket and go home to prepare for his journey. He wasn't a well-off man and decided, in order to have some money with him when he landed, that he would not buy meals on the 2-week voyage, but that he would take some bread and cheese and some chocolate in his bag to sustain him until he arrived. He boarded the ship on the day of departure and found the small room in which he would spend the next 2 weeks of his life. He didn't want to mix with any of the other passengers in case they would want him to join them in the dining room, which they all seemed to frequent during the day. He was quite content eating his bread and cheese until towards the end of the 2nd week, when the bread was stale and the cheese was hard. By now he was quite hungry, and eventually, on the last day before arrival, he decided he would have to spend some of his savings and buy a meal to sustain himself. When he heard the bell for dinner being served, as he had heard every day since the boat had left Ireland, he anxiously headed down to the dining room, unsure of how much it was going to cost him. There was a beautiful buffet laid out with lots of wonderful food to meet any taste demands. It was truly a sight for his sore eyes. His mouth began at once to water at the thoughts of eating this fine food. He looked around to see if he could see any signs explaining how much it cost, but couldn't see any. Being afraid to choose his food without knowing if he could afford it, he stopped one of the waiters and asked if he could see a price list. The waiter looked at him with a puzzled look and said, "Where have you been for the past 2 weeks? Don't you already know that all the food on this trip was included in the price of your ticket? There is no charge. Eat and drink all you want and enjoy it. Don't wait until you are well on in years to discover that life will give you what you ask for. In fact, you are currently living the life you ask for. The life you want has already been set aside for you. If you don't know what that is or don't ask for it, the best you will get, by default, is survival. I can say without fear of correction that we are all worthy of more than we think we are. The reason I can say that is because I can finally see that what makes us worthy has absolutely nothing to do with who or what we are. Our provision has already been put aside for us to simply claim. However, we don't claim it because we don't feel qualified or worthy of it. We need to grow on the inside, our character, to be in a place where we can receive all the beautiful things we desire. You can write your own menu for your life. Yes, but even though at the start it's only a mental exercise and costs absolutely nothing to do, most people never do it. They just can't bring themselves to imagine the good things in life for themselves. They feel they don't deserve anything, that they're not worthy of anything. Is that you? There is no supply issue, there is only a demand issue. The second reason people don't write down their desires for their life is because every exciting thought or dream they have is immediately followed by the barrier, what makes you think? Or, you know you could never have, or who do you think you are to ask for that? Learn to acknowledge the barriers, then put them to one side for consideration later. Do not accept barriers at the start of your thinking. Don't let them knock you off your plan. Did you know that when the plans were put in place to send a mission rocket to the moon, a large amount of the electronic and mechanical capability had not even been invented yet? It didn't stop the planners planning and the engineers working to produce the required equipment. The rocket went to the moon and back. What's true and the truth? As I mentioned in a previous chapter, there is often a difference between what we believe is true and the truth, and it comes down to perspective, knowledge, and understanding. For example, your friend tells you that he won money in a raffle, and you believe him. You accept that as true, however, it may not be the truth. Now apply that to some of the things you believe are true about you, based on what you were told, like you'll never amount to anything. You're just not good with your hands, you're clumsy, you just weren't blessed with the ability to learn, you're not as smart as your brother or sister, etc. Something may have happened to cause a person to say these things to you from their perspective at that time, and you agreed on the inside that they were true, but they are not the truth. Yes, we all have different gifts, talents, and abilities, and there are some things that we can do better than some other things, so here is the truth. You can be the best at something. If you dig deep enough inside you, leaving aside your inclinations to belittle your natural gifts and talents, you will find that you already know what that something is. If you are like I was, right now you are saying, "But I don't know what that is." Here's how you can identify what you are made to be the best at. There is a thought inside you that says, "I really wish I could spend my days doing that. I mightn't know all I need to know about it right now, but I would be willing to learn it if I got a chance." Or, "I would love to do that, even if I didn't get paid to do it." When you see or hear someone talking about that subject, it catches your attention. You notice things about that subject that most other people don't. You ask yourself questions about it in your mind like, "What would I do in that situation?" Or, "How could I make that better?" You can feel your energy levels rise when you think about it. These are big clues as to what you are made for, your heart's desire. For some people, this burn on the inside of them finds an outlet via their hobby. Like the previous story of the mason chipping away the pieces of marble that didn't look like a horse to reveal the beauty inside the stone, you too can uncover something beautiful on the inside of you and reveal it to the world. It might not change the whole world, but it will surely change your world. You cannot conceive of something and believe it unless the ability to bring it to pass is already on the inside of you. Your mission, should you accept it, is to work to bring it out, and the reward? A beautiful, fulfilled life. You are creative. Create the life you want. See it in its full detail in your imagination. Feel the emotions rise up in you and expect it to be so. The supply is already in place. Set your demands and remember, your receiving is always in line with the size of your character. In other words, what you believe you are worthy to apprehend, your level of expectation. It also comes to you in the same measure that you give of yourself. Expectancy is the hinge that swings the door to big dreams. Expect the life you imagine to present the pathway of its fulfillment to you because it is looking for you too. Be brave enough to imagine it, confident enough to speak it out with belief, courageous enough to pursue it, bold enough to expect it, and build the character you need to apprehend it. Quote, "The expectations of life depend upon diligence. The woodcutter that would perfect his work must first sharpen his tools." Confucius.